now we're finally, so you're going to see wires a lot this morning. Okay. There are lots of wires all the way around, right? So it's one of those things. We try real hard for you not to see the wires, but I'm not even sitting properly. So I'm going to try real hard to sit properly. I think it's because I'm right-handed. That anybody right-handed? Anybody right-handed? When you're right-handed, I think you have more problems. I used to think that being left-handed was the thing, right? But I have discovered that being right-handed is equally, I don't know, because you're right-handed, you think this way, right? You think linear, and you think when you're putting stuff, like I'm positioning stuff, I'm thinking access, not realizing that my left hand is like, hey, how about me? How about me? Right? So today is the 19th of March. It's March 19th, 2019. If you can believe that, people, it's almost, hey, this is your first day on Periscope. Welcome. Can you believe this now? It's the 19th of March. It's like almost the end of the first quarter of 2019. If that is not scaring you, I don't know what will. Because just a few days ago, we woke up and it was Christmas and then it was January. And now it's March. The year is moving. We're all making plans for summer now, right? So it's spring. So it's going to be summer. We're making plans for summer because by the time you look, it's going to be the end of March. Today's the 19th, right? So before you know it, it's going to be summer. And then we're going to be like, I'm not so sure what happened here. What happened? And I am saying that too because I myself find myself like, we have these deadlines, and people like myself, alpha characters like myself, we march to the beat of a different drum, right? So we're constantly have the finish line in front of us, and we're constantly focused on the finish line. So we're always marching to the finish line, marching to the finish line, trying to get to the finish line. So we're motivated by results. And that's what I say to folks all the time. For me, it's about results. Yes, the process is part of it, but for me, it's the results that matter. I wanted to, because your results tell me everything about you. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about what are you doing? What are you doing to achieve your results? Because what I have found is that people, all of us, we have things in mind, we have stuff in mind, but we're not doing as much as we should, right? And we want to make sure, you get these pop-ups on your laptops. I don't do them. That's why I use Apple products. And I'm using one of these interfaces. It's a Google Chrome device. I am going to be honest with you. If you want a device, get a Google Chrome device or an Apple product. The best laptop on the market is a MacBook, hands down. And if you get a MacBook that runs Microsoft Word, you're good to go. You need nothing else. Just download Google Chrome onto your MacBook so you can, because Safari does not like certain websites. You know that, right? Safari, there's some websites you click and Safari is like, I'm not going there. I don't trust that. The certificate is not published. I'm going to shut this one down. But if MacBook, if you're doing business and you're a writer or creator, you create films or you write music or you write books or you're a speech writer, your best product is a MacBook. I can tell you that right now. I went MacBook about 8-9 years ago, never looked back. This is my third iPad. And I say that because the first generation iPad, I never wanted to part with it, but they stopped giving updates for it, right? So I gave it to my niece, and whatever she did with it, it's destroyed. And then my second iPad, I gave it to my daughter. I gave it to one of my daughters. And this is my third iPad. And I gave up the second one only because she insisted on having it because she was having problems, because she's one of those people who streams stuff on her MacBook. So I said, get a device that you can stream on that has more firewalls, because Tablets I have found have better firewalls because it's like a mobile device. So a tablet functions like a mobile device. So the firewalls are better. So you don't get, the protections and so on are much better, right? So this is my third iPad. An iPad is like a mini computer. I walk around with it. If I have a presentation to make or I have a document to sign, because nowadays we sign documents electronically, you can download an app to it and sign a document, makes life more efficient. So if I'm going into a meeting, I have my iPad. Sometimes I take a keyboard so I can type my notes for the meeting. Sometimes I use my pencil so I can just write a note to myself or something. I have a meeting at 1 o'clock today. I'm probably that's usually what I do, right? And so these make life better. But somebody gave me a device. It's an Acer computer, actually, but it's a Google Chrome device, right? So it runs Google Chrome, which means the good thing with it is that you don't store anything on it. Everything is in your cloud. Apple invented this cloud thing, right? So everything is in your Google Drive. So all your documents, you can create a document, but it's saved to your Google Drive. It gets to the internet quickly, fast, and it does not get a virus. Now, other PCs, no matter who they are, I mean, I'm running another one. This is a Dell, I think. It's a Dell. This one is one of these is an IBM ThinkPad. That one is new. I haven't used that one yet, so I can't tell you how, but I know of the product. I didn't even know IBM still makes them. An IBM ThinkPad is like an ancient laptop. They now call it Lenovo. It's the same thing, right? They rebranded and call it Lenovo. I don't know who thought of that name because nobody likes that. I'm serious. And an IBM ThinkPad is supposedly one of the best designed laptops in terms of the hardware, not necessarily the software. They all run Microsoft Word, but the hardware is supposed to be good, right? So it's reliable. When you turn it on, it will turn on, doesn't get as many viruses. But if you're going to use a PC or a laptop that you don't want viruses on, you got to go MacBook. If you're a creator, right? If you're creating content or creating stuff, you got to go MacBook. It's the best camera, it's the best interface, and it runs efficiently. It doesn't get viruses. And if you put an antivirus software on it, you're good to go. And it runs when it says it runs. And if you get Microsoft Word on it, then you have multiple screens going on. I don't know about the Surface Pro. I don't know about it. I've seen people use it, but then I pull out my iPad and they're looking at my iPad. So I don't know. I'm just saying. So you go out and you see somebody with a Surface Pro and I'm like, whoa, let me see how that works. And they pull it out and then you just pull out your iPad and you're like, okay. So I'm for what works. And as long as it works, then it works. It's just like I use an iPhone because it's more reliable. The battery power lasts longer. And my apps don't foreclose as much. On other devices, they seem to force close. For me, I use apps to do everything, right? So on an iPhone, it works more. And I like the feature that my contacts are in my iCloud. So if I change device, I can find them. So I don't have to go text people and say, I lost your number because I lost my phone. No, I just log right back into my iCloud and it downloads to my screen on the new device, whatever it is that I have saved. I mean, I've even seen text messages from 2012 and 2013, and I'm like, gee, maybe it's time to delete some of those, right? Whenever you update or so on. But they got us. All these technology companies, they have us, don't they? They have us, right? So I have a MacBook, an iPad, an iPhone, and I'm running others, right? This is what my world looks like. I'm currently using like 3 laptops. I have 2 more, I think. Yeah, and then I have a, if I have to go to a meeting, I take one of 2. I either take the Google Chrome, or depending on what I'm going to do, I have a blue Acer that is like a tiny little thing. You can fold it. I should demonstrate it sometime. You can fold it. It becomes like a tablet. It becomes like like a display. It's the same thing with a Google Chrome as well. You can adjust the settings on it so that it changes how it's viewed and so on. So do I sound like I like technology? When it makes your life easier and it works, it does work beautifully. The problem is when it doesn't work. Like last week, Instagram was down and people were freaking out. Well, what are you going to do without Instagram? Baby, it's just going to be down for a day or two. If you think about it in the broader picture, everything we do is technologically advanced today. We live in a world today that is way more technologically advanced than it was 10 years ago. So, frankly, to be honest with you, if you want to know the truth, uh, if something goes wrong with our power grid or one of the satellites, God forbid, something happens to it, we're all in this thing together. We're all going to be sailing down the road without technology, right? Isn't that true? That's very true because technology is the way to go today. So I find it fascinating that I can pick up a phone and go into an app and I can do it. Which brings me to remind everybody about this. Okay, so this is my iPhone. Don't look at my screen too quickly because you might see notifications, right? They're talking. You want to see what I have notifications here? It says prosecutors released Cohen search warrant documents showing they were looking into him before the FBI was looking into him before Robert Mueller began his investigation. Uh, right? So, in here in Detroit, police search for missing mother and infant. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I get all kinds of notifications, right? So here on my iPhone, for instance, I set it up so that I keep in touch with what's going on in the rest of the world. Do you all do that, right? So mine is personalized. This case is I don't even know what the brand is. I saw my daughter with it, and it's made for Android and iPhones. For what's that brand? Samsung. The big tablet-looking phone that when you hold it up to your ear, it looks like. And people went on and bought the things that give them cancer, the neck cancer thingy. Yeah. So the cover, I don't know what it's called, but it comes in different colors, right? And what it does is you put the phone in it. So if the phone falls, it doesn't break. Do these phones fall? Yeah, they're big. They're cumbersome. They can't hold in your pocket. So yes, they fall. So I saw my daughter with it and I thought it was cute. It has this thing. Yeah. So I kind of like, do I like technology? When it works, it works. When it works, it works. So if the power grid ever has a problem, bully to all of us, we'll all be going somewhere else. I don't know. So I wanted to talk today with you. It's Tuesday, so we're going to have a terrific Tuesday. And I want to keep it light. Technology versus privacy and intrusion. That's a good one. Technology versus privacy and intrusion. Well, what do you think? I've said this before, that, and this is coming from one of my Facebook viewers whose name is Matt Martin. I agree with you because I think the minute we signed up for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Periscope and YouTube, we gave up our rights to privacy. Privacy is out the window. That does not exist anymore, right? If you were to Google yourself, you're going to find things about you that you don't even know. This is why when you're taking pictures, for instance, sorry, my throat. I stopped putting ginger in my water for a few days and then my throat starts getting funny. But when you take a photograph in front of your house, family gathering or whatever, be mindful not to make sure that you edit the photo so your street number, the street address, your street address does not show up. Even where you work, you're taking a picture at work. We put out way too much information anyway. Now, the developers of the apps have access to our information, and what they do with it is anybody's business, right? They sell our data, right? So you put your credit, in some apps, you can store your credit card data for automatic payment processing. So when you go to Starbucks or you go somewhere else, well, hackers have access to that. And the developers have access to your data and your credit card information. So bully to us to think that you're ever going to have a private life. right? If you ever Google your address, for instance, you're going to see a have you done that? Google your address. It's going to scare you what you see. Talking about privacy and intrusion, Google your street address. You're going to see your street, you're going to see your house. And for some of you, you might see a car parked up there that should not be there. Because I found I found that out. Right? You're going to, because on the day when they captured, the satellite captured your house, they captured everything. It's the scariest thing that I have ever seen is to see your actual street address pop up on Google. Hey, fam, we're going to talk about last words in a minute. I want to welcome to the conversation Ant Green, right? Talking about Googling street address and stuff. Let me just interject here before Ant is probably at work and is going to leave, but Ant Green, everybody say hey to Ant, right? Ant is a Detroit filmmaker. He's an award-winning filmmaker. His films have won awards at almost every film festival in the country. So the next one we're going to is the Sundance Film Festival, right? And we're going to be headed there by next year, 2020. That's the year when we're going to go there. So tonight is a watch party for the film that we're in. It's called Last Words. Right? So Ant is going to tag me and he's going to post clips of the film. I am in the film, but I'm not the star. I'm just one of the actors in the film. There are several other folks who are in the film, but I know you want to see me and hear me, right? Yeah, my voice is kind of in there. So the film will be streamed on Amazon Prime Video tonight. It starts tonight and it's going to be in 30 days. It will be on Hulu and 30 days later, it will be on the other streaming networks. So let's say congratulations to Ant Green. I love you. I'll see you later. We're going to be at Legends Pizza on 7 Mile and Livernois at 7 o'clock this evening. We're having a watch party. The film is called Last Words. And I just want everybody to know this was all Ant. Ant is a wonderful human being. He and his wife, Kim, they have built themselves a film business that is worthy of mention. Let me tell you, when he first started, he had a dream that one day this conversation would be taking place around him and that he would be making films that the world will want to go see. And here we are today. And he's just getting started. So can you imagine what his next 10 years are going to be like? He's only going to get better and better. He's a wonderful human being. He's very humble, very open, and acts as if, what's all the fuss about? He's not into all the fuss. He's not into all of that. I am so glad that our paths connected years ago. And now I live to see come true. And I'm so very grateful to be a part of it. Look at you tonight at Legends Pizza at 7 p.m. And I just thank you, and you rock even more. I mean, you've got to see his film. So the film I'm in, Last Words, will be streaming on Amazon tonight, starting tonight, right? So I'm going to promote it later. I want everybody to get up and go watch the film. Everybody has download Amazon. If you in your Comcast or AT&T or whoever your internet provider is, there is an app for everything under the sun, right? So download Amazon. You can do a free trial for 30 days, but at least in the next 30 days, I want you to watch Last Words. The film is called Last Words. I'm not going to tell you what the story is about, but check the words out. Check out the meaning of the film is in the last words. It's about a girl who was beaten up by her boyfriend. And she had such a bad experience being beaten up by her boyfriend and so she, she left Georgia, came to Detroit, and met a new guy who had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. Just loved her and just wanted to be with her. And then she never got over it. And what happens is what happens. You got to go see it. It's amazing. It took a turn that I didn't even anticipate or I didn't see. And I am the therapist. I play the therapist. I play the therapist in this film. So the film is Last Words. I'm so proud. Yes, I'm humbled. If I'm not, I don't seem excited, it's because I don't know. But I'm humbled to be a part of it. because when Ant first spoke about it, it was a dream. He sent me the trailer to look at it, and I was like, this is going to be a blockbuster. We got to do this. And I was like, you got to write this. I was amazed at it. And he took it. He exceeded my expectations and took it to the next level. I'm so proud of him. You got to meet Ant. You got to meet him in person. When I go tonight, I'm gonna do a Facebook Live thing while I'm there, right? And I want you to meet this guy. He's so humble, right? And you have to meet his wife, Kim. She is the perfect, what do you call it, ride or die? She's the perfect ride or die because she's just there with him. She helps him to write. She helps to direct. She fills in as an extra in all his films. Last Words is not the only film he has done. He has done The Gift, right? And he has many other projects that are out there. He's become a filmmaker of worth and mention here in Detroit, here in Michigan, and whose fame is now spreading because now his gift has shown up. Do you know that phrase in the Bible that says your gift will make room for you and your gift will place you before great men? That's what happened with him. He has a gift for storytelling through film. He has a gift for seeing something and making a film that speaks more loudly than the words could ever say and giving out a message through the film. And I'm so grateful and I'm so inspired by what he has done with his life. And I say that to everybody out there. If you have a story to tell and you have a gift, don't give up on your gift. Your gift will make room for you, and your gift will place you in front of great men and women. The kings of this world will come because of your gift. All you have to do is stay in the game. Don't leave no matter what happens. Stuff is going to happen. Yeah, you might lose some people along the way. Maybe some people need to be lost along the way. Maybe they're not good contributors to your destiny. But what you do for yourself is you stay the course. Stay in the game, maintain your course, and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep learn as much as you can. Research your craft. Humble yourself to the process because there is a process. Humble yourself, therefore, to the process. And so the rewards will come. Yes, they will. They do come. They do come. It's great to feel achievement and accomplishment. And so I know somebody out there right now is listening to me who gave up. Which one of you it is? You can inbox me. You just about gave up on your dream. It's taken so long. It's been so painful. It's cost you everything. People left you as they are wont to do. People said goodbye to you. And some people even walked away from you and told you they couldn't do this anymore. Even after everybody else was leaving, some of those who stayed eventually walked away and said they couldn't do it anymore. And what has happened is that now you are faced with this stuff. Now you are faced with what's left. Don't give up. You're the one who has the responsibility to the calling. The calling is yours. The calling is not someone else's goal to fulfill. Even when you have your spouse, even with your partner, the calling is your responsibility. It is up to you to invite them in. It's up to you to bring them in, tell them about what you're doing. Hopefully, by the grace of God, they agree with you and work with you, because that can be a whole other hell when you don't have the right spouse and the right partner. For many of us, we had to walk alone. I'm living witness, because the risks that I had to take to get to where I want to be and to where I am called to be were unimaginable. And I don't believe that I would have had a spouse who would have said, I'm with you, or I'm going to help you get there. I don't believe that was happening. And so I ended up being alone, and I had to do it alone. So if you're blessed to have a spouse with you, take care of it. If they're with you, take care of it, right? But understand that you have the responsibility. The calling is yours. You're the one with the responsibility to the calling. You are accountable to that calling. The gifts and talent. When I say gift here, we think about gift like something packaged, right? Like this looks like a gift. So we think that that's a gift. No, the gift that you have been given, whether you sing, dance, write, talk, speak, act, play ball, right? Any kind of ball, football, basketball, soccer, or whatever kind of ball you play, tennis, balls, whatever, right? The gifts that those are gifts. We call them talents. But the Bible says they're talents and gifts. So they're different. Because you can be talented in one thing and gifted in another. When you're gifted in something, it's something that you do easily without training, without formal exposure to training, but it's something that comes naturally to you. A talent is something you just pick up a microphone and do. That's a talent. You're gifted when you can express it without it being an effort on your part. And somebody out there, one of you, I don't know who you are, but you know who you are. You've been gifted and talented. The responsibility is yours. It's not easy for you to do it. I know the burden is heavy. I know that. I know. I've been there. And it's hard sometimes. And sometimes you can't even find someone to talk to. You can't trust anyone. But I'm here to encourage you and to tell you, don't quit. It's your responsibility. You're accountable to it. And the last thing you want to do is to disappoint yourself. Because at the end of it, that's who you're going to disappoint. You're going to disappoint God because you know that God spoke to you and told you. Some of you have gifts to fix computers. For the life of me, you probably didn't even go to school. It's one of the things I had learned about myself, how easy it could be. When I was a kid, I used to look at a TV. You remember the big box TVs? I was so curious about how people got into the TV that I would turn around and use a screwdriver, screw the thing off, and look at it and just sit there and look at it and wonder how they got all those little thingies together. Then I'd take them apart and put it back together. When I was a kid, I'd do the same thing with a radio. They thought I wanted to be a lawyer. That means I use words. They were like, but you can look like you're going to be an engineer. I'm like, no, I don't do math and science. That's not my thing. But it was a gift. To this day, I can still see something and put it together without even reading the diagrams. The diagrams are secondary. Sometimes the diagrams don't even make sense. I'm like, if you put that there, it's not going to work. They drew that diagram wrong. So I just put stuff together. I'd look at it and I'd say, that wire goes there, that wire goes. It's the same thing with a car. It's not something I'm proud of because I like to think I'm a girly girl. So, I don't get under the hood of a car. But it's fascinating. I'm going to be honest with you. I look under there and I'm like, so where does the oil go? I already know because I looked at it. Right? And I'm saying, where does the oil go? I already know. I'm just playing with you. Right? And so it's a gift. It comes naturally. Speaking and writing for me, I never saw it as a talent or as a gift because it came so naturally. It took me years. I became a full-fledged adult before I realized, because I've been speaking since forever. I mean, I was champion debater in high school. I was always on the debating team. I was always at the forefront advocating for something. To me, that was natural. I didn't see it for what it is. But I have a responsibility to it. I have to see it through, right? I can't drop the ball. I can't leave it. Like today, I have a meeting at 1:00. I really don't want to go. Really don't want to see anything. But if I don't show up, the voices of the people I represent will not be heard. I can't let their voices go quiet. You see what I'm saying? So even though I really don't want to be there, and it really is something I really don't want to, I might just show up, depending on what I deem to be, if I deem it to be a priority, but I have a responsibility to it. Talking to you is part of my gift, right? And so I have a responsibility to follow through with it, despite everything else. So you have a responsibility to your gift. You think I'm a blessing to you. That's why you continue to listen to me every day. There's something in what I say that helps you. So you listen. Imagine if I didn't say it, if I kept my mouth shut. Well, it's the same thing with you. You have a gift. You have a responsibility to deliver that gift. There's someone who is going to be blessed by your gift. So I can talk about your stories. I'll tell you about mine. I wrote a book. My second book, Musings of the Spirit, had been out. And in the year 2010, I was promoting my book. I don't know if Ant knows the story or if he was aware of it, but there's someone we know mutually who was the producer at the Word Network. And I was trying to get on the Word Network to promote this book. The guy who was the vice president, his name is Louis. I can't remember his first name. Attended the church that we all went to. And he was one of the most arrogant human beings you could ever meet. So me and myself, I don't care about, if you have something I want and I want it, I'm going to ask you for it. I don't care about who you think you are or how arrogant you are. So I went to see this guy. I'm serious, in the hallway of the church. And I went up to him and asked him, and he was like, I don't do that. You need to talk to so-and-so. Go talk to so-and-so. We don't even do stuff. Blah, 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 blah. I said, thank you. And I kept it moving. So about a couple of months, I hadn't given up. A couple of months later, somebody who works there struck up a conversation with me. Andrew knows who he is, right? He was the producer. And I told him that I wanted to go on it. And he said, really? Why didn't you say it to me? I said, I didn't know I went to so-and-so, went to Louis, and he said, blah, blah, blah. He's like, this is who you talk to. Name and phone number. Tell them that you want to come, and I'll give you a date when I will be producing. Boom, that's all that happened. So I was promoting my book, Musings of the Spirit, and I went to do my makeup. The day of the shooting, the day of the interview, it would be carried live on the Word Network around the world, right? Worldwide, that was the promise. I was told that if I do this, if I wrote the book, if I went and talked about it, I would be on radio and television. So I'm following through my responsibility and accountability to the calling, right? So I went to do my makeup. And the makeup counter, the person at the makeup counter was at Macy's, and I liked a particular brand, right? And usually you go in and, you buy stuff. So I called and made an appointment. So I went to do my makeup that day, and she said, so what are we doing tonight? What's the special occasion? And I really didn't want to say, but my daughter said, oh, mom is going to go on the Word. You know how kids are. Mom is going to go on the Word Network to talk about her musings of the Spirit. And the woman was like, are you serious? You're a writer? You wrote a book? What is it about? For some reason, I had a copy of the book in my purse, and it was the same purse that I was going to use later on that evening. So I had dropped a copy of the book in there just so you won't forget, just so you would have it. So I picked it out, and she said, oh my God, she bought a copy of the book. She told me, she called me afterwards to tell me that book transformed her life just reading it. It gave her the courage. So we went shopping. After we went shopping, we had to walk back through Macy's to get out of there. Ran into her, and she said, I read just one scripture. Just one chapter was enough. It transformed her life. She said, I've been at this Macy's counter. I really don't like it. I don't want to be here in Detroit. I have to go to Atlanta. I feel like that's where my calling and my destiny is. I read one chapter. And I went into my boss today and told him I want to transfer to Atlanta, and I got approved just like that. I was like, okay. I haven't even gone on TV yet. I'm just going to sit still. She moved to Atlanta, and she did. Honestly, I missed her because she did my makeup really well, right? And I was like, so if I have to do this again, she moved to Atlanta. Reading one chapter was enough to convince her that that was it. If I had never written the book, if I had never agreed and fought and pushed and strove and overrode and got people out of the way, I had to pray mountains out. Even look at the obstacles. The vice president of the network turned me down, but I persevered and still kept going, so that my appointment with destiny collided with her appointment with destiny. She was in the right place at the right time. I was in the appointed place at the appointed time to tell her, and her getting a copy of the book was enough after reading one chapter to convince her that she needed to get moving. And everything lined up for her just like that. That's the responsibility you have to your calling. I don't know who you are, but that's your responsibility to your calling. You got to get up. You got to do this. You can't sit back. It's not enough. The time for sitting back is over. You have to get up and fight and figure it out. Trust me, the devil is a liar. There is a real enemy out there. There is a real negative force. You don't want to call it the devil? You don't want to call it Satan? Call it what you will. It's a negative force. And that negative force has enough ammunition to convince you why you shouldn't do it. You don't believe me? Look at all the stuff that has happened to you, all the people who are speaking. That's the negative force. But you have the power to fight against it. You know where your power is? The calling. The more you reach for it, is the more power you will get. Reach for it. But every time say, but I have this calling to fulfill. I have this destiny. That propelled me and fueled me for years when I was an undocumented immigrant, when I was nobody, when people walked over me. The one thing I did for myself, I never slept with anybody. I was not going to place my self-esteem and my dignity at the feet of anybody. That was the last thing they were going to do, is get up and walk away from me and shake their penises off like nothing. It was not going to happen to me. Was not going to happen. I said, they're going to tell me no. Let them tell me no based on the merit of this that I bring to them. Tell me no based on that. Tell me no because you don't like my project. Tell me no because you don't like my project. But you know what you're not going to do? You're not going to pee in my face. You're not going to spit in my face and then turn around and laugh. I made sure, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes on the way up, they tell you, do what you have to do. And people end up in, that's why all this Me Too movement started. That's where all the sexual harassment came from. It came from people who sold their self-esteem and dignity at the feet of someone else. They bowed down to something, and then after a while, it starts to feel bad. It makes you feel bad about yourself. So now it's Me Too. It happened to me. And people in powerful positions take advantage of your vulnerabilities. I was emotionally vulnerable because I had come from a broken relationship. I was financially insecure because I had to work to support myself and 2 children without any support. I never got child support. I never got financial support. I didn't get alimony. I got nothing. So my vulnerabilities were exposed, and I had 2 children. In a society that looks at a woman with children as being a target, something easy to access, as being accessible. Well, she's vulnerable and she needs the money and she needs it, so she's going to do whatever I say she should do so she can get what she needs because I can do that. I have that power over her. Harriet Kamak was not going to let that happen. I didn't sell my children nor myself, nor my self-esteem, nor my dignity at the feet of that. So it took me longer because I did it the right way. I told myself, if the destiny and the promise is powerful enough, it's going to grab me and snatch me and take me up with it. I don't have to cheat my way into it. I didn't lie, didn't steal. I might have begged. Yeah, I begged. I asked for opportunities. But I didn't sell my self-esteem and dignity. That's very important for someone. You're at that crossroads. People had come to me and people have asked me to do things that was not in keeping with my belief systems. Sorry, I can't do it. No, cost me everything. People to this day have lied and lie with a smile in their way into stuff. And I'm still sitting here like, no, I'm still waiting on funding. I'm still waiting on my funding. And somebody even laughed at me last Tuesday. I was at a retirement party. And someone, listen to this guy spent 25 years behind bars. He's now working for an organization that helps returning citizens. He has the nerve to look at me and smirk when I said I was still waiting for funding. He's never started anything. Started it in jail, right? He's never done anything, really. But you're smirking at me for doing it the right way. You know why? Because When he was in a vulnerable place last year, I don't even know if he was vulnerable. He had the nerve to ask me out. I said, no, baby, you can't even figure out what you want with your wife. I don't do that. I said, we don't go there with that. We don't mix the two. This is business. Keep it business. You see where I'm coming from? So a year later, he thinks because he works for someone and they write him a check, and with his background, if he doesn't work for that organization, chances are he'll never work for another organization because he has a record that cannot be expunged. So the criminal record is prohibitive to him accessing jobs. But he's going to look at me and smirk because I'm waiting for funding for Exodus. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I'm just here to tell you, when I got up from that conversation, you know who has the last smile? It's going to be me. I have my own key to my own car, to my own house. I got my own destiny, and I have me, all that I am. I have food in my table, food in my refrigerator, right? I didn't have to go down to Cat's Corridor or somewhere to stand on a corner. I didn't have to call someone and tell them, come sleep in my bed tonight. And when you get up tomorrow morning, you leave $200 or $300 on the table and walk your way out. You don't have to do any of that. My dignity, my self-esteem are intact. My integrity and my reputation are intact. Bully to him to think otherwise. You have to be so sure that this that you're doing is yours, that you can make these kinds of declarations and keep them. Along the way, there were plenty of people who made it seem and acted like, if you do this, I'll help you get there. If you come with me, I'll get you there. This was me. Time out for that. Why? I did it the right way, right? And when you do it the right way, there are results. There is a blessing attached to it, and it increases your ability to endure. It increases your ability to perform better. This is why you see all these stars flaking out after a while, because not only does market conditions change, because you got to understand, people are a currency, right? It's a form, your body is a commodity, and your people are a form of currency. So the director, actor, or whoever, the boss, the CEO, whoever it is, the director, whatever, of whatever program, who is sitting in front of you today, when you get up off that floor with your dignity and self-esteem in tatters, that same director has someone else coming in to take your place, because that's how that is done. So you have to look at it. Is this worth me? My calling and my destiny are worth everything, but they never asked me to compromise my dignity. Sure, I can sit and talk to you. I'll talk to you all day. I'll smile with you all day. I'll have coffee with you all day. But that's as far as that's going to go. You see what I mean? That's as far as that's going to go. We have to understand, because we are forced, we're being compelled by this thing in our heads. Time. Remember when I started, I was 30. So I was already past the age that Hollywood says you are fruitful. Ant is younger than me by more than 10 years. So he still looks like a teenager. You know, he looks like he's just turning 20 or 21, right? But look at us. When you watch the film Last Words Tonight, you're going to see the evidence of people who work everyday jobs to keep themselves going, but who have a talent and a gift, and who put their shoulders to the wheel. Everybody on that film put their shoulders to the wheel. Everyone. The guy who did the lights, the guy who did the sound, the guy who did the editing, who is Ant, right? The writer, right? The staging, right? Everybody, the actors, they poured themselves into it in the belief that it's going to work for their good. And that's what you have to believe. The road to destiny is not going to be lit up, but the results thereof are the fruit of your faith. The results thereof are the fruit of everything that you've gone through. I've been saying a lot lately. I'm 52 now. I don't feel it. I don't know what 52 should feel like. I still feel like maybe I just turned 27. Last year I was feeling 25-ish, but this year I'm like, maybe I should start accepting that I just turned 27. As far as I'm concerned, I'm 28 forever. I like to linger between 28 and 30. That's it for me. But and I have been through stuff. I was telling my daughter yesterday, I said the traumas of relationships and life, I've had a lifetime of it. But I can't obviate the calling and the destiny. And that's what you have in front of you. The results are what you focus on. Focus on the results. Yeah, they're going to come and nitpick the results. What are the results? Yeah, they're going to tell you, turn you down. 39 rejection letters for visions. 39 rejection letters for visions. But the vision had to come to pass. And it did. 39 rejection letters. The result. So when someone says, well, who are you or what do you do? I'm an author. Go find me on Google. That's it. The results thereof. Somebody asks, well, the results speak for themselves. Somebody else tears you down. Well, you shouldn't have done. You shoulda, you coulda, you woulda. The results. Was it easy? No. Like I was telling my daughter this morning, it cost me everything. Some days I wondered, why me? But the results. You don't have a choice. You just heard that? You don't have a choice. It's your responsibility. You must do it. You're reluctant to get up and do it, but you have to do it. If you don't go into this setting, if you don't do this, then what about the people who are behind you? That was something that concerned me for a long time. I kept telling myself, what about the women who were emerging from abuse and who did not have someone to talk to, who did not have someone to represent their interests, who don't know where the resources are? Are there resources in the community? Yes, but they don't know that, and they don't have the strength to go forward, and they don't have the bravery. Do you know how intimidating the world is when you have been broken? Now, I told you about we were at this retirement party last year, and here's this guy who is smirking because he thinks he's at the top of a heap. He's a regional director for a nonprofit here in Michigan. And maybe in his circles, he's important. To me, he's another person who is getting something done. And yes, he has survived tremendous odds. He spent 25 years in prison, not even jail, in prison. And he comes out and he has the nerve to smirk at someone who's doing it right. I sat there and Elaine was sitting to my left and she looked at him in a whole different way. And I looked at her and I smiled. You think I let that bother me? At the end of the day, you know who those folks were in that room? They knew me. When I walked up to someone and I said, I am Harriet Kemmer. It's a different level of deference. You got to stand for something or else you don't stand for nothing. You see what I'm saying? And all these folks who are here, whom I'm interfacing with, when I was down here, if I had bowed down to them, now that we are here, how do you think they would treat me? What do you think they would say about me? Because I know people. People like to talk, and they go, especially about women, and they like to talk about and smirk. You know what they can't do? There are some things they can never. I didn't give them the chance to say I showed up at their doorstep one day and asked for a cup of water. And I didn't have to show up at their doorstep and say, I'll go to bed with you so my children can eat, so I can get this done, or you'll open that door for me. No. I have a responsibility to the calling, but coupled with my responsibility was my own feeling of integrity that that's not what is required because that will diminish what you're trying to do. So when you get there, it's going to diminish your message and diminish when you show up. You don't want that. So when I show up and they're there, they have to give me the same level of deference that other people in the room do that don't know me. Now, I was with some folks the other day and they were talking about a very powerful woman in the state. And truth be told, what a man said about her, and you can say, well, she has achieved the position. Yeah, but at what cost? Because this is the silent conversation. Well, she wouldn't used to do anything. I mean, I knew her when, she was doing anything. I know some people who can, attest to that. And I was like, for her, she has to rise above that because for her, that was her road that she took to get to where she is. Maybe at the time, she felt that that was what was required or that's what she had to do. She couldn't wait till she turned 50 to get it done. So she did it quickly. So now this is this coupled with it is what you get. For me, I was like, dang, this is taking an awfully long time and it probably is going to be long, but this is how we're going to do that. So I just want you to focus. There comes a point in the journey when you focus on the results, when you limit the time that you spend listening to the hype and you pay attention to what is it that I'm trying to do? What is it that I'm supposed to do? What is it that I'm called to do? There's a difference. What must I do is the question that you ask back. What must I do? Because if you can eliminate what you must do as opposed to how you feel or how you feel about doing it or what you want to do, then you will arrive at the place where you need to be. Because there are some things that require more effort. Getting to your destiny is not easy. It takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot out of you and it's not going to be comfortable. My God, I've given up. In the last 7 years, I've forgotten what a comfortable life is. I swear. Ever since I started walking on this, and then when the tables turned in 2009, and it started ramping up, it's been 10 years. I don't know what a comfortable life is. I spent many nights lying awake. Darn it, if I could find some more money and make some more money out of something to make something happen, I could make this happen over here. I could do this over there. I could do that. I'm pretty sure that I made missteps along the way and I made mistakes, literally mistake. Like there was a take I should have taken and I missed it. I'm sure that my life story is replete with that. And I'm sure that when you look at the process, I am pretty convinced that there were some avenues and roads that were not necessary. That's what I think. But what I've learned about those is that as much as I think that those weren't necessary, I found that those were integral to the story. In fact, that's the story. That's what makes the story even more interesting. And so what has happened is that it makes me a better storyteller. It enhances the story and it makes me more credible, more believable. You find something in what I say. That's how integral your story is. That's why you can't obviate the lessons along the way. You have to watch them. You have to learn them. And you have to learn the mistakes and the lessons as you go along. Because that is the story. That is the journey, is the process. Right? Thank you so much. I barely see you, my friend. Lift your camera. You're barely seeing me. Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. That should be better. You're barely seeing me. I think I have it too high. I'll fix it. Sorry about that. I'm also streaming from YouTube, youtube.com/Harriet Kenneth. I'm barely seeing you too. I became aware of it just now. I think I hoisted the camera too high. I'll fix it. But do you see what I'm saying? So it's very important that we stay connected to you, because the journey is about you, right? And that is part of your story. I can't begin to tell you how I wish some of the stuff that happened never happened. You imagine how I felt when this man, we were just in the sanctuary praising God and everybody was in this glory cloud. And we walk out of the sanctuary and this man is like, I'm not helping you. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not going to do that. Oh, go talk to so and so. We don't do that. Oh, he was so arrogant. The other part of the story I didn't tell you is that within a short time he lost that job. He was actually disgraced out of it. So, and people were saying, yeah, it was his, arrogance. Is that better? Are you seeing me better now? Is that better? Right? It was his arrogance that did that. I feel like you have to be careful what attributes you take with you on the journey. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Right? You have to be really careful. Your character is just as important. Now, I was with someone the other day and we were talking about an incident. Much better. Thank you. We were talking about an incident that happened 2 years ago when we had last been in the same space. And I was like, maybe I didn't handle that the right way. And he said, no. He said, you are very direct. He said, we can all agree that you are direct. And so he said, stick to it. It's who you are. It's the hallmark of who you are. You're going to be direct and you're going to say it. And honestly, I was sitting there because the other person who was with me that day, she got boatloads of money. But then she got boatloads of money at whatever. I mean, by kissing up and smiling, and what do you really stand for? But it came to me that what I should have gotten when I discovered that the money that was promised, let me tell you what happened. So an organization gave away $300,000 that was supposed to be split amongst 4 Detroit organizations. The organization in Lansing that got the money, she decided not to give us. She was supposed to give us $75,000 each. She didn't give us the money because she had the money. She decided to earmark it for other things. When I discovered that she had already gotten the money and that what she was going to give me, I raised holy hell. Now, myself and someone else did. This other lady sat there and maybe she saw a different alternative. I was just mad that you're disingenuous because you got the money to give. They told you who to give it to, and you chose not to give because the money was already in your bank account. She ended up retiring. That's whose retirement party we went to, because I didn't even talk to her for years. I refused, because not giving us the money, giving me the money, was not the promise. You see what I'm saying? So I was like, I have nothing to do with her. She is a disingenuous. Oh, see what I'm saying? That's me. So according to the person who I was sitting with, he said, that's you. You're direct. You called it. It is what it is. I wasn't apologizing. I just said maybe I shouldn't have. I should have been, maybe, I don't know if she would have still given me the money, because it looks like it was dependent on her personal feelings. It's how she felt personally. You see, and maybe this other person acted solicitously and was much more Uncle Tomish like. And I was just like, wrong is wrong and right is right. And if you are wrong, you are wrong. When I'm wrong, don't you tell me I'm wrong? You never tell me I'm wrong and say, oh, I wish you weren't so wrong. When I'm wrong, you tell me I'm wrong. Well, she was wrong. So I called the organization who was supposed to give the money out, and I demanded to know. What they did was they rescinded their relationship with her, because it damaged our relationship that they were trying to penetrate into this area. Because then after that, I was like, I don't have anything to do with y'all. You make promises and you don't fulfill. And especially, I deliver. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Sometimes I do it quickly. Sometimes I do it later. But one thing you can take to the bank, if I say I'm going to do it, it's done, right? So I deliver. So maybe she thought she was dealing with something else. I don't know, whatever it was. I'm just putting it into context for you because sometimes, as an entrepreneur, and sometimes on the road to your destiny, you do encounter these kinds of personalities, right? And you have to navigate them, and you have to choose which one is it that you're going to serve. Are you going to serve the purpose of your destiny, or are you going to serve something that is short term, that is going to write you a check for $50,000, but in about a year or two, you're going to be held accountable to it? That's what happened to me. 2 years later, I'm sitting at the table with someone else who has way bigger connections, who has way bigger access. And he's looking at me and judging. And he's saying, you did the right thing. Don't apologize for it. It was the right way to do it. Do you see what I'm saying? So you have, but you can't, you have to be so sure deep down in your knower, right down deep in here, that that was the right call. Because I could have used any kind of excuse for why I told that woman that day. I could have said my mother was sick. She was in the hospital. I had to rush to go pick up my kid at 2:30. I was disappointed because I went into this meeting with assurance that I was going to walk out with this. I had staff to pay, and I know I'm going to have to tell everybody to go home. I'm going to have to, people whom I had on ice waiting to be hired, no, I'm going to have to tell them that I can't. And on top of that, my mother is in a hospital with a life-threatening illness. And it was like death. I remember coming down from the 36th floor of General Motors, the General Motors building that day. Like, I don't believe this, but somehow I can't focus on that. I have to keep moving because there's so many other things I have to focus on. Do you see what I'm saying? 2 years later, the $75,000 that she should have given us. 2 years later, I'm sitting before someone else who is saying, here's what we're going to do. And they were in that room with us when I sat there. Be careful when you see my hands come together like this. Boom. And I said, listen to me very carefully. When that happens, so do you see what I'm saying? The responsibility is to the calling. It's to the destiny. The accountability is to that. To him who giveth. The Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. Much was given to me. I'm nobody. I'll tell you that right away. I am a nobody. When I say I'm nobody, the gift and talent that is given to me and the responsibility I have to it, as far as I'm concerned, it humbles me because I have to deliver on it, right? And because I recognize that there is a greater force outside of me, that God is the force that controls me, governs me, I humble myself before God. So I ask for wisdom. I shouldn't have prayed for patience. That should never have happened. Boy, have they been teaching me. But I asked for wisdom. And you are going to be placed in situations where you will learn wisdom. You're not going to know wisdom until you're tested. Then you will know that that is wisdom. Right? And what this woman did not know is that this has been a long time coming. I've been in many situations years before. So if she were just looking at me and thinking whatever she was thinking, that I was someone she could pass over because she's a white woman and she thought that she had privilege, she learned a lesson that day. She learned real well. There are some people in life you just do not push around. I am one of them. She discovered I was one of them. Will we ever interact? I don't know. I don't know. I went to the retirement because for me, it's done. That was for that time. I wanted to see what their organization is doing. Where are they in the big scheme of things for the things that I want to do? And who are the new players? Do I need to make connections with them? I discovered I didn't need to. There were other people on the playing field, much larger, whom I now had access to, that they can stay. Do you see? There are levels. right? There are levels. So when I went, I wanted to assess it for myself to see where the intersections are today and where the levels are. And I was like, handle that, done, let's keep it moving. When you are walking this road, you have to learn some lessons. Sometimes you go into a room and you shut up, you say nothing. Sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one with the most power. That's the one with the power to change circumstances, right? You have to learn to recognize people for who they are. Are they bit players or are they the real player? Because there are some people who are bit players who act like they're the real players, and then they're the real players. So you have to have that wisdom. Some rooms I go into, I don't talk a lot. I don't talk at all. I let Elaine do all the talking, and I just sit there. And sometimes she's looking at me like, I wish you would say something. And I'm like, no, not the setting, not my mouth this time. No, no. Right? Because especially when dealing with women, there are some things Elaine goes and does that. I'm not going. Because women develop issues when they meet other women. They don't judge the merit of the program. They judge you based on what you represent. And I don't like that. I like to deal with women who just unilaterally and universally, we view the problems that women face as a common thing, as a commonality among us. I like those kinds of interactions, right? Because all it is just we're women and we have this common problem, these common problems. Let's find a way to fix it. I like dealing with powerful women who think like that. Notice I say powerful. They're powerful because they're already empowered. They recognize that they're empowered, but they don't have to show their power to someone else. Their goal is to cooperate. I like people who think like that. Right? Some people don't understand that. One of the things you will find about me is that I don't show power. I told some folks that about 2 years ago. I said, you don't want me to go there. You want to take my word for it and just do what I ask you to do. Don't force me. You see where I'm coming from? Because you have to. I had to learn. I learned this lesson a long time ago from watching other people act out, and I learned some lessons. My great uncle was a powerful man, right? He was a community organizer, and he was someone who was well respected in his community, and he had a lot of influence on politicians, especially political processes, right? And he had a lot of influence. He had access. I learned some things sitting at his feet, right? Hi, Harriet. Love that color on you. What's the right? We're talking about results. Oh, hi. Who is this? Mitchell Pogue. Hi. Right? So we're talking about results. We're talking about results. That's all you want to think about is results. And guess what? I thought I would only do an hour today, and here we are. It's 11:21. Results. And Michelle, just so you know, tonight on Amazon Prime Video, the film Last Words will be featured. And Harriet is in the film. The producer of the film is Ant Green, A-N-T. Ant is short for Anthony. He's on Facebook. Ant Green's film Last Words. And I played the therapist in that film. The story is about a girl who was in an abusive relationship. She left that relationship, went to a whole other state, has a whole other group of people, and is hanging out with some new guy. And what happens in that relationship is the story of the film, right? Last Words. So make sure you check it out. Share it with as many people as possible. It will be on Amazon starting tonight. So in some cities and some places, you might not see it immediately tonight. You might see it tomorrow. And then in 30 days, it will be on Hulu. And then 30 days after, it will be on all the other streaming platforms, right? So the film is called Last Words. Go say hey to Ant Green. Yours truly plays the therapist in the film. So I wanted to make sure you got that, right? So we're talking about results. And to be honest with you, it's even in the film Last Words. Ant called me about a year before and said he wanted to get a copy of my book, Through the Fire. Now, When my book first came out, he did the commercial for it, right? He had done the trailer for the book. So he called me and said, I never read the book. Can I read the book? He has an idea for a story. When he read the book, he said, okay, we're going to use the book as the story, as part of the story of abuse. He wanted to take the context of physical violence and abuse and how do women who emerge from these relationships react. Boom. So when he did the trailer for the movie, I was like, hot dog, this is something. I want to see the full feature film. And so the movie is called Last Words. Today, this is now 2019. It first came out in 2017, I believe, in September 2017. Or was it? Yeah, it was September 2017. So, and it's now available on Amazon.com. So we want to talk about that, right? So it's results. So when he first came to me with a story, we hadn't seen it yet, but now the results are it's going to be on Amazon. That's why you have to be really careful, fellas. You have to be really careful, girls, ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals. You got to be really, really careful about people who speak against you and how you react to it. Not everybody who says something again, don't jump and react to everything. Some things, just keep it moving. You see, when you know who you are deep down, when people start speaking out against you in your presence, to your face, you know you have a choice to make. You know what you need to tell yourself? This is the wrong group of people that I'm in. Because if I were surrounded by the right group of people, this would not happen. So what that teaches you is whoever is speaking out against you is what? Is wrong. Get rid of them. Block and delete. Don't talk to them. No matter what they say to apologize, they have exposed themselves to you. Right? And sometimes we don't even want to go there because guess what? Sometimes it's someone we care about or someone we have been with for a while. So the connection is more emotional. And when you really think about it, sometimes you're like, I should have gotten rid of this a long time ago because this has not served me well. In other words, what I'm saying is your calling is pulling you to a higher place and you have to rise up to it. You have to think differently. The greatest drawbacks to us sometimes is in how we think, because we're not thinking in terms of the big picture. For me, I say this all the time, it's the results that motivate me. What are the results going to be? It's the results that keep me. I want to see, because honestly, I'll tell you this. In 1997, I lived in Orlando, Florida, and there was someone whom I gave authority to in my life. I gave them power and credence. And I went to them and told them that I had this dream. I thought they would be happy, or I thought that it would resonate with them that I had this dream that I was going to be a writer and speaker. And she laughed at me. She said, how are you going to do that? You don't have any influence. The only people who do that are so and so and so and so and so and so. And you don't have any influence, and you don't have any this, and you don't have any that. You have to be really careful whom you let speak. You know what she did? She made me look at her in a different way. I began to see her for who she really is. And I said to myself, this is someone who cannot be with you. She has just she totally eliminated herself. Well, fast forward a few years later, I learned that her husband had died, and I tried to reach out to the family and spoke to her daughter. And they were like, you know what the daughter said? She said, I am so glad you proved mom wrong. And I said to myself, all kinds of stuff going on there. You need to get out from under that and go find you if that's how you feel, right? But do you see what I'm saying? If I had allowed that woman to her words that she spoke to capture my imagination or capture the way I think, I would never have moved forward. Look at the struggles that I was going through. The first thing that was uppermost in my mind was extricating myself from physical violence in my home in a way that was not going to leave me dispossessed, disenfranchised, and without so far down you can never rise up. No. So the first thing on my mind was, how am I going to navigate this difficult time in my life and keeping my sanity intact? So I couldn't afford to let her words sink in. I focused on the results. I kept at the back of my mind, I don't have one of my books here with me, but I kept at the back of my mind this image in my mind of this dream I had where I saw the covers of my 3 books. And I said, that's who I am, and that's who I'm going to be, and that's what I'm going to accomplish, irrespective of the circumstances. In other words, what I'm saying is, my family, do not let your circumstances define you. You are my family. You all know that, right? You see me every day. You talk to me every day. It's like we know each other. You even know my living room now. You're like, dang, girl, I see everything about you. I can see your face. I can see all your eyes and stuff. And I can see you too. Right? But do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? You cannot let the circumstances define you. Don't let it finish you off. I don't care what it looks like. You don't know what I have been through. They have turned me down more times than they have said yes. Did I quit? I felt like it. But the destiny was so great and the calling was greater than me that the calling got me up. The calling pulled me up. So I had to keep looking. Well, who are you looking to for help and guidance and support? Who is your support system? Yes, we all need a support system, but sometimes people are human and they fail. And when they fail us, that's when we collapse. So I got a spiritual source that I connect to, that I power into to get the results that I want so that I can keep moving. And that's what you have to do. There are some things that are inviolate to me that I maintain. I got to have quiet time. I got to have time when I listen to music. I have to have time when I eat chocolate and brownies. Yep. Yep, that's a reality. And I got to have time to go to the mall and walk around. I have to have time to sit down. Sometimes you see me at the mall, I'm just sitting down and watching people pass by. It's one of my favorite things to do. I look at people and I observe faces. I also watch people's reaction to me. It's interesting. You ever notice that? How people look at you. Since we family, let me hold $5. Sure, I'll cash app you. Is that what family does? Right? But do you see what I mean? So you're just laughing at me. I know you're just laughing. That's okay. Make fun. This is what family does, right? But seriously, I like to go and see how I like to look at people's faces, and I like to look at their lives as lived out in front of me. People are walking with their children, their spouses. You can tell, I can imagine what their relationships are like. And it makes me wonder, in the big scheme of things, which one of us in here, walking through here, who has something to pour into me that is going to enrich me? And it's always amazing. So, like I tell you all the time, I will make you smile when you don't want to. If I look at you long enough and I start smiling, you're going to smile, right? So, people are walking, and especially in today's world, in our society today, we are so tense that white people have stopped being friendly to black people, and black people have stopped being friendly to white people because of the racism that has suddenly mushroomed and sprung up again. So people don't know what to do. So people who would normally just be, hey, how you doing? I don't know. So this is me at the mall. Let me see if you're going to smile with me. I just start smiling, and then they'll just stop and start talking. And then we start talking, or they start talking about my hair. Women talk about my hair, or we just start smiling, or the children. That gets me every time. The children. I'm just like, peekaboo. It's over. If I start doing the peekaboo stuff, it's over. You know why? Because I have to maintain these kinds of interactions. They teach me about people. It's one of the ways I de-stress and decompress. You've got to have levels. Right? We talked about levels earlier, in which we talked about when I was at this retirement party. 2 years before, I was fighting with their executive director because she got the money and wouldn't give it to us. 2 years later, I'm at her retirement party, and I'm looking at how important are these folks to where I want to be. And the levels have changed. Right? The levels have changed. Level up. Sometimes we don't let ourselves, we don't allow our destiny to become so important. We often look at it as something in the future and push it off. And for some of us, we don't have well-defined destinies. Have you ever talked to someone in college? They're just in college. Well, what are you going to do after you leave college? Well, I'm going to get a job. I got to pay off the student loans. What do you want to do? You know the question I ask people? If you could, what would you really do? You'd be amazed what comes out of people. The next question I ask after that is, well, why don't you? And they look at me like they're crazy. I'm like, there are always ways to do things. And I keep walking. Right? Right? This is Michelle. He says, but we love you. There are people that I adore and there are people that I truly like. And I like you, Harriet. And with that, when you talk, you have my attention. Oh, thank you. I'm humbled by that. Thank you so much. See, I'm still working on the people you adore part. Right? So go to my website, harrietkemick.com, join our mobile space. There's a place for mobile on there because most of you are going to use your phones, and you will start getting updates from us, emails, and so on, right? harrietkemick.com. Make that one of your destinations, right? And so when you look at results, you have to look at it. Now, 2 years ago, I was focused on the result. I wanted to see, as far as I was concerned, getting that 75,000. And I'm saying this because there's some of you out there who are like, Harriet, I'm at down to the wire. It's all about the money. I am with you right there. And I'm helping you, right? 2 years ago, it was for me all about the money. I needed that $75,000. I thought it was going to buy me the access and buy me into the environments and spheres that I wanted to be in. I thought it was going to help me deliver the programs and services that I wanted. So when I didn't get the money, I had to go start all over. I didn't think I had the time nor the luxury of having to do that. But you know what happened 2 years later? Give it time. Say time, time, time. Time equals results. Hello, time equals results. You know what happened 2 years later? 2 years later, I have made more connections and in different environments with more people than she could ever be. She's retiring. Her influence is finished. Mine, just beginning. Because trust me, she's going to live long enough to see my face in so many contexts and so many spaces. She's going to regret the day when she sat across from the table from me on the 36th floor of the GM Tower. May 5th, 2017. She's going to regret that day that she sat across from me and didn't write me that check for $75,000. She might go out thinking about that for $75,000. But I didn't spend the last 2 years focused on that. I spent the last 2 years thinking, how do I continue to get this done? And as many obstacles as you will face, the focus is not on the obstacles. The focus is on overcoming them. Because if you focus on overcoming the obstacles, you're going to make it. Because obstacles, they come at you like the kitchen sink. They throw everything. Ladies and gentlemen, hear me clearly. The path to destiny is not linear. It's not straight up. Donald Trump is one of the richest men in the world. Can we agree? It took the man over 70 years to become president of the United States. And he had all the money, all the access, all the influence. It took him over 70 years. Put things into perspective. Don't look at Hollywood and let them dictate to you your strength or your ability to finish. You will finish anyhow. I went to Arkansas 2 years ago on the panel. He wasn't on my panel, but the group of speakers, when we were in the green room together, there was a man there who in the 1950s, he wanted to get an advanced degree. He wanted to get a master's degree. You know, there was a law that Black people could not get an advanced degree. I didn't even know that. So he couldn't get an advanced degree in Arkansas. He came to Wayne State. here in Detroit to get that degree. He was now in his 70s. When he left the University of Arkansas, he never went back. Say never went back. Never went back. It took him over 50 years to go back there. Focus on the results. Time is irrelevant. Did you hear me? What did I say? Time is? Because the time as we think of it, oh my God, it's 2019. You heard me start at the beginning of the show. Oh my God, you got to get busy. You got to get busy moving to get to your destiny. That's not the time that matters. You know what time matters? Your efforts. The time you think about it, the time you spend doing it. The real time is the connect between when you start and when you finish. The connect that dictates where you're supposed to be, appointed place at the appointed time. That's the time that matters. So if it's one thing about time you're going to worry about is, I need to be in the appointed place at the appointed time to be with the right person. That's the time that matters. So when we're here agitating and you see people running the ladder, running in place, trying to get to it, that is irrelevant. Because if you focus on that, you will never see the gift of the journey and the lessons you need to learn and how you need to be to overcome these obstacles. Because the obstacles are not going to stop. You know what happens? You build strength and temerity and tenacity. And you build something I love called audacity. The boldness to go forth. Because now you know that I can do this and I'm going to get it done. If you don't say so, I'm going to shake your hands, wish you well, turn around and walk back out. I'm telling you, 2 years ago, May 5th, 2017, this woman turned me down. She thought she had it. She thought maybe she turned me down. She was exercising what she thought was her power. I still kept it going. Within a few months after that, I still opened the shelter. Within a few months, we kept going and going and going. 2 years later, she's retiring from the position that gave her power. The board literally looked at her and said, well, we've come to this part of the road. She gave up. But you know who stayed in the game? I did. Because time is irrelevant. What matters is how I finish. What matters is being in the appointed place at the appointed time to meet the right person. That is what is significant about time. What gives you those results, being in the appointed place at the appointed time to meet the right person. Sometimes they give you an idea. Sometimes they shake hands and introduce you to someone else. Sometimes what they do is tell you yes, but they will always be the shelver to your destiny. They're the conduit to destiny. That's what time means. It's the conduit to your destiny. So I say all of that to say, if you can focus on that, that's where your results will come from. This is why you got to know where your strength comes from. Where are you taking direction from? Of all the knowledge, some of you have like 3 master's degrees. You have degrees coming through your wherefores. What we're doing with that, all of that, people? What are we doing with all this knowledge we have acquired? Use it. What about your experience? Some of you are looking at people and saying, well, I don't have a PhD, I don't have a JD, I don't have a DD, I don't have a DADA, I don't have a BC, CC, AC, DC, whatever. Who says all that matters? You know what matters? The power of your intellect. Use it. I don't even, did Mark Zuckerberg went to Harvard? He didn't even get a bachelor's, y'all. Some of the most successful people in the world never finished college. I'm kind of going to leave the conversation at this point because I dropped out. And I didn't say anything about that. No, I started, but no, I was like, okay. I was like, the road of life and the University of Life has more to offer me. When you find yourself thinking like that, You know you're not going to stay in college, right? When you start thinking there's more to life and I can learn a lot more if I make this move here, make this move here. When you start thinking like that, right? That's what happened. I'm serious. That's what happened. And I looked at circle and I was like, you can get this over here if you do that. Pooh, those things. I was out of there, right? That doesn't work for everyone. For some fields that you want to go in, school and staying in school is required action. You can't be a doctor without going to medical school. You have to learn that, as intuitive as that might be. You can be an engineer. I still think there are plenty of people who are engineers out here who haven't gone into formal study, but who are doing way better and know stuff way better. We see them every day, right? There are, brothers and so on. They fix everything. The guy with the engineer who comes up when something happens, he can't figure out jack, you still have to direct him and tell him. Yeah. But there are some things that are required. Professional school is one of them, right? There are some things that there is a required course of study. What I have found is that the destiny that you are called to dictates what you need to do to get there. That's how you know that that's what you're called to do. It dictates your requirements. It dictates what kind of experience you should have. It dictates what kind of education and learning capabilities are involved. That's what your destiny does. That's what I have discovered about it. So some people will say, and I'm going to tell you this, I have never shown up anywhere to speak, deliver a message, or to be me in any form that they ask of me to show up in. And anybody has ever asked me for my degree. I know that landed on you. I know. Because it was not required. Some of you are looking at your destiny and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You are looking at it the wrong way. Sometimes you don't require, you have to look at the requirements of it. Think about it. You have to look at exactly what you're doing and determine, what does this require of me? What is the greatest strength here? Is it my degree in mathematics? Or is it my degree in life? And once you can make the distinction and the difference, then you're going to act accordingly, because you're going to mold yourself to the processes and you're going to create and package that which is deserving of it. I got to go. I got to wrap this up because I have to be somewhere at 1:00, and you know how that is, right? I don't want to be here for so long. But do you see what I mean? Don't mean to get up, but HBCUs, we'll talk about. I don't really want to talk about them, Michelle, honestly, because it's going to sound like I'm prejudiced. HBCUs, I don't really want to talk about them, but we'll talk about them some other day, because HBCUs have needed funding, and it's a whole lot of reasons why. I think their education is second rate. I don't think that when you send your kid to an HBCU that they're getting a full-fledged degree that is recognized by the society. There are all kinds of agendas there. So you send your kid, you pay over $70,000 for an education, and they come out with a degree and they go earn $20 an hour or $15 an hour. And you're like, excuse me? Then what was the point of spending 4 years studying? So we'll talk about that another time. But do you see what I mean? Your destiny will dictate to you what the requirements are for it. It's going to build you up. So lend yourself to the process. It's kind of like you have to lean. So you have to know in whom you trust, right? Because you have to lend yourself to the process. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about breast implants and all the hoopla that's going on around it. You want to join me for that, right? Yeah, we're going to talk about breast implants. So if you've ever done one, you need to call me and let me know, right? And you've got to lend yourself to the process. You've got to lend yourself to who and what, right? And be gentle with the process. Learn the lessons. There are times when aggression is required. There are times when audacity is required. There are times when tenacity is your strength. And there are times when you just sit there and be still. And then there are times when you're as loud as Harriet Kamek. You're as strident as she is to get what you want. Wisdom is going to be the dictating force, the deciding factor, right? Right? So, take a deep breath. We're going to cleanse our chakras. We're going to maintain good posture so that we don't put any strains on our organs or on our bodily systems, right? And we're going to smile. So look back at me in the camera and smile, 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 because it's all going to be good. We've all paid the price to be here, and it's going to be good. So go to my website, harrietkamak.com, invite me somewhere, right? And join me again tomorrow. We're going to talk. This has been settling on me from last week to talk about breast implants, and I don't know why I didn't do it. But we're going to talk about that tomorrow because this is some hoopla going on, some real stuff going on, because there is a lot of agendas out there that is preventing the truth about breast implants from coming forward. And that is just unbelievable. And I want you to do me a favor. In preparation for that, go to Netflix and watch this movie, Botched Up Bodies. It's a series that exposes what happens in plastic surgery. I want you to watch it so when I start talking about breast implants, you talk to me, right? And you know anybody who has ever had one, let them know I have never had one. Thank you, Jesus, for his many blessings on me. Because I kid you not, ladies and gentlemen, but for the grace of God, I kid you not, the stuff and the stories that I have heard from people who have worn. Anyway, I'm done. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So go to my website, harrietkamak.com. As you know, I'm executive director of the Exodus Foundation. We provide services to victims of human sex trafficking. Go to my website, theexodusfoundation.com. Make a donation so that we can continue to provide services to folks who don't have a voice. Voice for the voiceless and hope for the hopeless. Mitchell Poe, you don't thank Jesus for nothing. You know, there's some folks over here on my Facebook feed. Guys, listen to these people. Do you know what you just said? He thanks Jesus too. Wade McCree, are you out there? Defend me. Anybody out there defend me? Where's Colin Watson and you all? Defend me. This dude up here is talking about he thanks Jesus too. Really? I'm holding you accountable. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about breast implants. That is some shiggity. We got to talk about that. Can you believe the stuff? So in preparation for it, watch Botched Up Bodies so that you have some background when we start talking about what this is going to be. And if you know somebody who is planning to go put in some double D's because some guy makes them feel like their bodies are not adequate, let them come. Tell them come to Harriet. Tell them come listen to me tomorrow. I will empower you. And I will tell you the truth. I'm going to rely on me to tell you the truth that the media is probably not going to tell you because they're paid interest. They're not paying me. So I can say it. Right? Right. So I got to go. It's time to go. Thank you for taking time out of your busy Tuesday to spend some time with me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much. Be blessed, everyone. Thank you, Periscope. Thank you, everybody. See you very soon. Thank you. And of course, my favorite folks over here on Facebook, you guys get me every time. You know that? Sad. Very, very sad. That's very sad. Wait a minute. YouTube is not ending. Oh, there we go.